in Russia. It's been 1 week since Russia launched what they called a special military operation in Ukraine. In other words, a full-fledged invasion of a country to overthrow a democratically elected government. Since then, multiple cities in the country have witnessed massive shelling, missile strike and complete pounding. Today, Kherson fell and Kharkov is almost in Russia's grasp. But Kyiv is still holding out. Not just Ukraine's military, but also their civilians are fighting shoulder to shoulder to keep Putin and his forces out. Is Moscow buying time? Is it just tiring its opponent out? Or is it really faced with a rival it underestimated? Is that why we heard Russia's foreign minister threaten of a nuclear escalation today? Are Putin's design finally unraveling? Joining me tonight to debate this is Anton Anisimov, editor-in-chief of Sputnik. Also joining me tonight is Valentina Aksonova, advisor to the Ukrainian information minister. Good evening to both of you, and I want to ask you, Mr. Anisimov, is Russia really putting out a threat of a nuclear escalation to this war? Is that what we should understand from the foreign minister's statement issued earlier today?
First of all, thank you for having me. In regards to your question, as far as the potential nuclear war is concerned, no, of course, Russia is not threatening the world with a nuclear war. I mean, how do you even imagine that?
That's the statement that came from Mr. Lavrov.
Mr. Lavrov said that Russia can use its nuclear capabilities if it sees fit. And that is exactly intact with the country's military doctrine, which allows to use nuclear missiles preemptively if the country sees a threat to its existence. So basically that's it. That's what he said. He's not threatening the world with a nuclear war. Why would he?
But do you think Russia at the moment has found it more difficult than it imagined to take over Kyiv, to completely pound Ukraine?
We're not in to destroy Kyiv. We're not in to destroy Ukraine. That is why, I mean, that is the difficulty that we're facing. We need to keep the population as safe as possible. In my country, I mean, we need to keep civilians as safe as possible. And that is the main objective. And that's been stated very, very many times by now. So that is the main difficulty. We spoke to you yesterday, was with your channel, and we already described that the Ukrainian population and the way Russian troops are advancing, they are encircling cities, and they're asking for humanitarian corridors so that the civilians can leave. We're not in to destroy Ukrainian cities. By now, if you know the Russian military capabilities, you know that Russia would have destroyed Ukraine by now if it wanted to. But you don't see it now, and you will never see it, because we see Ukrainians as our brotherly nation.
Do you think, Valentina Aksonova, do you think Russians are behaving like brothers? And those are visuals, before and after, visuals that have just been released by the Ukrainian government of what Ukraine was and what it looks like after the Russians have attacked. Do you still think they are your brothers?
I'm just shocked to hear what just Anton said. This is what we have today. 16 children in Ukraine, 16 civilians, children killed in Ukraine due to airstrikes, 2,000 civilians killed due to airstrike. This is how you are making civilians safe, you say? This is how you are protecting Ukrainians and Russians in Ukraine against Nazi? This is how you are protecting Russians in Ukraine? Kharkiv is mainly Russian-speaking city. At this moment, Kharkiv is heavily bombed. You are lying. Kharkiv is heavily bombed by airstrikes, by vacuum bombs that are restricted, that are not prohibited according to international law. Our children are born in bomb shelters at this time. This is how you are protecting Ukrainians and Russians. I am Russian. My surname is Aksonova. As you, Russian, you might know that Aksonov is the surname of the leader of occupation authority of Crimea. This is how you protect us, Russians, in Ukraine? This is how you do this? The civilians are killed each moment. Each moment the civil citizen in Ukraine is killed. This is the face of Russia. This is the operation of Russia against the humanity. This is the crime against the humanity. Ukrainians in Russia, Russians in Ukrainians in Ukraine, Russians in Ukraine are not waiting for Russians. You are not the defenders. You are criminals. You are criminals against the humanity. You are killing peaceful civilians in Ukraine. This is what you do. This is what you do. You kill Russians in Ukraine. And now I will just switch for a little bit into the Russian language so that Anton would make me more clear. Русский корабль, иди нахуй, тебя здесь никто не ждет. Вы убийцы, вы убиваете людей в Украине, вы убиваете русских в Украине, россияне в Украине будут стоять до последней капли крови для того, чтобы защитить нашу демократическую, европейскую Украину. Я думаю, так вам будет понятнее на вашем языке.
Can you translate that for us, Anton?
You can ask Valentina to translate it. Yeah. I mean, yesterday,
I can translate it.
Can I?
Of course I can. Of course, that's for sure. That's very easy.
Can I jump in for a while?
Yeah.
Okay, so yesterday I came to this show and my counterpart from Ukraine, another one, called me a bastard. Now, what this woman said in Russian is very, very inappropriate. And I would rather she does not translate it into English, really, because it's going to be a second day in a row that I'm offended personally.
What is inappropriate is 400 rockets over, it's 400 missiles over Ukraine. It is what's inappropriate. 16 deaths of people, of children, 16 deaths of children. This is what inappropriate. Crimes against the human beings. This is what inappropriate. Children are dying. This is what inappropriate. And not this, your cursing, Russian cursing words. This is what is inappropriate. Your behavior, you're threatening against the world values, the world that we built after the Second World War, the world that we built together when we were fighting Nazis. And what you do now, this is the Nazism. And this new Nazism is called Russianism.
Is it my turn now?
Anton,
is it finally my turn?
Yes, Anton, but it's a fact that some maternity homes, some hospitals have been destroyed. And those are not targets that any warring nation should destroy.
Now, you stated again as a fact that Russians are the one destroying it. Do you know it for a fact? I mean, we've heard
maternity wards, hospitals, kindergartens, schools are now.
Well, are you saying the Ukrainians destroyed them themselves? Are you saying the Ukrainians destroyed them themselves, Anton?
Destroyed by bombs, by airstrikes. Yes, themselves, children, our babies, newborns are putting bombs into their pampers. Destroying children in Ukraine. You are destroying civilians, kindergartens, schools.
Valentina, permit me to allow Anton to respond to you. Yes, Anton.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, if this is the level of discussion that you're willing to have, I mean, if this is what your viewers are asking, we can just both start shouting at each other right now, and I'll be shouting random numbers as well. With children, I mean, we can go back to Donbass, to shelling Donbass. Like the Russian Investigation Committee has 14,000 cases of confirmed that suggest there was a genocide against the Russian-speaking population based on language criteria in the last 8 years. Now, do we really need to exchange numbers like this right now?
I mean,
what you're claiming is...
One minute. I think what the world really wants, Anton and Valentina, what the world really wants is some sort of dialogue to resolve the issue, because wars don't help anybody. Wars
Let the Russians stop fighting. Russians, drop your weapons. Stop bombing Ukraine.
You don't need us to be the mediators. I think the mediation can be done by the two of you. Talks are the way forward. Missiles and rockets certainly not the way forward. The world would hope and pray that better sense prevails, and on both sides there is de-escalation in terms of posturing, including in terms of the war going forward. Thank you very much, Anton and Valentina, for joining me on the News Hour.